Okay, so welcome to another TROM-Cast. Let's just wait a few seconds to make sure that the audio from our mics is going through. So let me check Facebook real quick. A bit of patience. So we don't start on mute.
I see us on YouTube.
Yeah, we are on YouTube. We are both on YouTube and on Facebook. Okay, yep, the audio is going through. So perfect, everything is perfect.
We've done it.
We've done it.
First
And we have
successful TROM launch.
have a new layout. So I think part of my video it's a bit cut out, but that's okay. Oh, yours as well, Cody, but that's okay. It's like a fancy
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
video effect. Doesn't matter. So today we are going to talk about a very special subject. But before I start, let me remind you that we do such TROM-Casts every week on YouTube and on Facebook, and we also post them on TROM site in case, I don't know, they remove them or something. And every week we choose a subject to talk about. It takes about like an hour or 2 hours or so to talk about the subject. And today we are going to discuss about the latest book, The Origin of Most Problems. And anyone can join via Jitsi if you want. You can find the link on tromsite.com on the live updates. You go on any page and click the Trom logo, no, except the homepage, and you will get there the Trom live updates. I'm posting there only because if we post on Facebook or on YouTube directly, you can even get bots to click that link, or anyone can, and we want to avoid such things. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, let me introduce a little bit about to you to this book, because it's man, I worked for like 1.5 years on this book, and it's a huge book. It's over 1,000 pages long, and you know it's a bit crazy because it's a bit. I mean, it wasn't my plan when I started with the book. I remember someone contacted me and said, okay, I don't fully get the picture of what you are trying to do with TROM. And I said, okay, can you please wait for a few weeks, because I'm going to write a text about trade, and I'm going to give it to you and to others who are asking me that. And this text transformed 1.5 years later into a fucking book, the biggest book that I ever wrote. And yeah, those books are free. You can go and read them. I know it's a bit like, how can I start to read a 1,000 pages book? But I'm trying to make them for one with simple language, and second, I make the design in a way that is going to be more. It's not just plain text, you know. You get the characters, you get the dialogue, you get a lot of interesting stuff there, so that is not boring. And this entire book, I was thinking to make it like a comic book with TROM superhero and all kinds of things like that to make it interesting. But that also made it very difficult to like keep the design, because it takes a lot of time to create dialogues and stuff like that, and so forth. So yeah, we can. I mean, Aaron, I think you read the book, and Seb as well, and yeah, we can discuss. We can start like chapter by chapter and discuss the book, because it's the core book of TROM. This is what TROM is all about. And if you have any questions about that, I mean, that now is the time to join TROM-Cast and or comment your questions or whatever you like. So yeah, so Cody, if you can put the like the book there, we have like an index for the book with the pages and the chapters in the book. And I will start a little bit to explain about the first chapter, and everyone can jump in with comments and so forth. And I was thinking how to explain what we are trying to do. And every time I make a book, I make it for, I'm thinking if a kid who is like 10 years old or something like that could understand the message, because that's very important. I don't want to use complicated language. What's the point to say something if people don't understand it? So I was imagining here a dialogue between a kid and this TROM superhero, explaining what this entire Tron project it's all about. And the way that I did that was through the Monopoly game, the board Monopoly game. Do you guys play that? Did you play that game
Little too
before?
much? Little too competitively? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play it when I was younger with my sister and with two friends, and then yeah, it was a funny game.
Because what happens there? Like,
Yeah, well, basically it starts that everybody has the same, and then you can acquire more and more houses or buildings or properties, and the goal is to be the master, to win the game. You want to have the most, you want to be the best player, and the others have to lose because you want to make them poor, and or that's what's gonna happen. They get poor, and yeah, so in the end there was always one winner who won the game, and sometimes it was me, sometimes it was somebody else.
And it's a very intense game because there's always one person who has more than the other person, and there's bound to be conflict. So if you play it with family or friends, it's bound to lead to something.
because that's what I realized when I was playing Monopoly game all the time. I realized that it doesn't matter what rules we put in place, how much we were like friends with each other. It didn't really matter because by the end of the game, we were kind of in a fighting mode with each other. We didn't like, it was a discomfort, at least a discomfort. It was I don't remember, and I played that game many times when I was a kid, even later on. I don't remember any game where we were all like satisfied and be like, yeah, that was a nice game. No, some people there were like, fuck this game, I will never play this game ever again. Because it's impossible, and it's impossible not to get into this kind of situation. And this is what I tried to explain with the first parts of the book, that look at the Monopoly game. Even when people start equally, even when you put rules in place, even when you play among your friends, you can never make this game equal. You will always have people who have the most properties there and those who have the less of them. And this is interesting because even in Monopoly, you will see that the more you have, the more you will have, like the more abusive you can become, the more properties you can take in. I mean, the difference is huge between the first player and the last player. And usually there are like a few players on top and the rest are like fighting for surviving. Excuse me. And this is what I realized. And I said, wow, this game that we play in the real world, it's exactly like Monopoly, because that's what we are doing all of the time. Like, what do? We are trying to trade stuff. That's why we go to school. That's why we go to have a job, because I give you my skills, so you can give me food, you can give me a house, you can give me some roads to drive my cars on. You give me healthcare and so forth, and we trade all of the time. We don't kind of see this trade directly because we use money, and you go to work and they give you money, and then you acquire whatever you want. But in reality, it's just a trade between you and the state, and it's exactly like the Monopoly game is. And my entire idea here that I wanted to present is that in the same way that you cannot make the Monopoly game fair, you cannot make this society fair as long as it's the game, it's the same, like trade. It's impossible. And I know when I was playing, did you guys, I mean, Aaron, or did you ever try to change the game for Monopoly? Because we tried that all the time. Or did you just play it whatever it was?
Well, we just played.
You're not that creative. You should change the rules.
Yeah, you need free parking, and all the money goes in the middle, and you get to collect it, and
Exactly.
all kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff.
Even those, they didn't work. Because I remember some people were stealing money all the time. Like, I have a friend in Romania. So hi, Mike, if you watch this. This guy was stealing. So it's like everybody knew this guy was stealing. Then we always moved the bank, the pile of money, away from him all the time. But somehow, I don't know how in the world, he managed to steal lots of money all the time and all kinds of crazy things. And even like a few years ago, I remember I said to a few friends, I said, let's play the Monopoly game, the board game, because I was curious to see the behaviors in action. And we tried so many things like, let's change this thing, let's change that thing. And nothing worked. And it's so frustrating because you put a rule in place and you say, okay, you are not allowed to have more than how many properties. Somehow humans are creative. They will come up with some ideas that, okay, I don't own this, but maybe I own it. Maybe it's they find loopholes, and this is so similar to our day-to-day life. Actually, the Monopoly game, it's inspired by today's world, as far as I know. That's so what can you want more than that? Like more than to put it in perspective is the perfect way to put it in perspective with the Monopoly game, and that was the first part. And if you have any comments about this idea to put it like a Monopoly game, do you think it fits the?
I think it's a perfect example because, like you said, it's like a miniature version of the entire system, and it's like that's the whole game that we're playing, and you cannot like surpass it. And the structure of the game of the board, reinforces you to want to be better than the other person, and there will always be like one person and then hoards up all the resources, and then other people will lose, and no one is gonna. There will never be a situation where people start out or things will turn out equally, except in the very, very beginning. But that's just before you even play the game.
I even had this idea. If I had lots of money, I could organize a scientific research. I will make a game, the Monopoly game, the online version, and I will take like thousands upon thousands of players from all around the world that they can play this game, and you will give them real life rewards, like real money if they achieve like the top scores. Imagine thousands of people from all around the world. You give them rewards, and you say to them, "Look, the game. The point here is, can you make this game fair? You let them from all around the world. You let them come up with ideas how to make this game fair, and this would be the goal. Like imagine thousands of people playing the same Monopoly game with different rules, different. Because my intuition is that you will never achieve. No one will be able to fix the Monopoly game if you give them rewards. Like if you go on top, if you finish on top in the Monopoly game, you will get monetary rewards. But with that in place, let's see if we can create any kind of version of the Monopoly game that is more fair for everyone and doesn't have winners and losers. Let's see if this is possible. And if I had the money to do such, I think it will have an impact even in this world to showcase something about human behavior, to showcase that the game itself that is going to fuck things up, and no rule. I will even ask other people from the outside. I will say, okay, you come from the outside with your ideas of how to make this Monopoly game fair, and I will let them put their ideas into practice, however they want to see. Francesco is trying to.
Francesco,
mute your mic. It's working.
But we can hear us. If you have headphones, it's not. Yeah, I think Cody, you can.
I can mute him.
I can mute him.
Okay, he's muted for now, so we'll just carry on, and then just give me a heads up, Francesco.
I can still hear myself.
You still hear yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
about,
you'll have to mute him on your end. I can only kick him.
Okay, I can. It's okay now. It's fine. Yes, yeah. So that was. I had this wild idea. If I resources to do this experiment on a worldwide scale with a online Monopoly game, I think will prove quite well something about human behavior. Maybe people will start to take this seriously, to understand that you cannot change anything because the game itself is to acquire. Because you have no other options in the Monopoly game. You roll the dice. It's not like you say, okay, I will stay here, everything will be fine on my properties and you guys can play. That's not how the game works. And the same in the real life. I cannot just say I'm not going to participate in this game. because I am pushed from behind. I'm like, okay, I need food. I need somewhere to stay. Maybe I need an internet connection or healthcare. So you are pushed all the time. That was the idea of the first part of the book.
I think it's also great to realize that it's just a game, because like we are like a fish in a glass bowl and who's swimming in water, and he doesn't realize that. So we don't realize our world is based on traits, because we are born and then we grow up in kindergarten, we go to school and then to study and then to work, but we never like question that or know it's just a game, but it's normal today, but it doesn't mean that it's normal in the future or something. So
that's a great point. That's exactly what I was also trying to achieve with this part, to make people aware that it's just a game. People don't realize this, but
exactly,
there's nothing there in the universe that says that this laptop is mine. It's a game. We just play this. We imagine. I imagine that I stay in this home and I'm like, oh, this is my home. Or it's rented. It's not. It's absolutely not. It's as real as the Monopoly game. And it was this interesting video of everything goes back into the box. I put it in TROM documentary as well. It was a speech by someone who says that, after you acquire stuff and you fight with the other players and everything in the Monopoly game, then when the game ends, everything goes back into the box. Because in reality, you never owned anything. And this happens in the real life. After you die, do you think your stuff, objects will have a mark on them and say, okay, this is Theo's stuff, this is Steb's stuff, this is... No, it's completely useless. And why is this important? People will ask, so what? Why is this important? It's important because you have to realize that we can change the game if the game is just in our heads. Nothing stops us. Nothing stops us, for example, to share the Earth's resources. Only our minds stops us, and that's the challenge here, how to change minds. In this regards, yeah. And I'm curious how many people in this world understand this aspect of this society, because some are starting to understand this about money, and they say, you know what, money is just paper. It's just, it has no value. They are starting to get that idea a little bit, because that's true. Like, what is this piece of paper? Absolutely nothing. And people die for it or kill for it, and they are impoverished because of it. And I like how Alan Watts put it one time. He said, we want to build a house. We have the wood there, we have nails, we have the expertise, we have everything, but we lack inches. We lack the ruler to measure the pieces of wood and everything. We have everything, but we don't have inches. It's like, we no inches, I'm sorry, or centimeters, or whatever you want to put there. That's how ridiculous it is, yeah. And I'm not sure how many people really understand this. Even these notions of, oh, this is a doctor, this is a lawyer, this is a teacher, completely completely imaginary. It's imaginary. Of course, these people have some expertise in some domains, but the way that we created these social structures and social positions, it's completely not random, but it's completely imaginary. It does mass and stuff like that. I remember when I was in school, I was looking at some humans in a way because they were teachers, and other humans in a way because they were students. And in my head, it was a difference. The teacher was here, the student was here. You had to listen to the teacher. With the student, you could be friends. And it's a crazy thing. In Romania, even we have a special way to address to older people. You cannot address I cannot talk to someone who's old the way that I talk to someone who is young, which is crazy. I mean, I have to change the entire structure of the discussion. It's just crazy.
You're echoing.
In German, that's also a big thing. Still echo?
No, it's good. It's good.
That's good.
If not, you can mute. Okay.
Yeah, Francesco.
It keeps echoing.
Yeah, you can mute him.
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, I was just saying that in German, that's exactly the same thing, where they are you have to address certain people who are, above you in a certain way, and then you can address other people in another way. And then after a while, once you start acquainting yourself with a person, you can say, oh, am I allowed to now use this pronoun to describe you, because now we know each other a bit more, and there's not that division of hierarchy. And the entire system kind of breeds these artificial beings that are saying, okay, this person is a doctor, this person is richer than you, this person is poorer than you, and so on. But it all goes back in the box, and these are all just one big illusion, kind of.
Exactly.
But I also noticed, if you realize that it's basically all just a game, and we are just playing like this because it's like this, and you don't have an environment which supports you, or people you can talk to, or friends or something, and then you're kind of lost, because then you realize, oh, this world is so, I don't know, fucked up maybe, and nobody's, I don't know, talking about that. Then yeah, you're kind of lost or alone. And I think it's really important, as we do now, speak or talk about that, because it's a very important topic.
Yes,
Completely.
exactly. Yeah.
And I think you realize as well that it's also maybe more of a game once you go and look at other cultures and see that, oh, not all humans have this structure, or not human history has not all been exactly like this. So we can do things differently, and it's the structure of the system and the environment that really, just reassures people, because the masses are doing it, that this is the way it's supposed to be. But that's actually not the case. It doesn't have to be like that.
For sure. When I was traveling, I had so much time and could think about these things, and so I would really recommend that, because it kind of, you get into a complete other environment, and you learn so much more about other cultures, about the world, about so many things, and yeah, that helps you. Yeah.
Travel or read about such things, or watch documentaries or whatever. It's the knowledge.
Yeah, whatever.
And the point that I also want to make here is that, of course, that doesn't matter what society we invent, we are still going to use our imaginations and assume that the things are the way that humans want them to be, for our purposes. All the time it will be like that. So this is not a thing like, let's move away from this imaginary world to something that is not imaginary, because it will always be kind of imaginary. But in today's society, this has become completely crazy. Like I explained with the inches and not having inches to build a house, it's completely delusional, and it hurts so many people, and so many people die because we have so many resources. So a lot of food is thrown away, but other people are dying because we think that this guy called Bill Gates has this pile of money. We all agree with that and say, okay, we accept that somehow in our society, that some players can have so much money. And all of the resources are going to be wasted, or most of the resources are going to be wasted in that manner. That's the problem here. Not the problem that this is imaginary. This thing that is imaginary will give us the power to change something, to be like, okay, it's nothing. I mean, let's think differently about this thing of like ownership or countries, for example. Why is it that a country has so many resources, but then it cannot give them to another country? Because it's imaginary. If we all see each other as one species, then we can start from there. We can build upon that.
I think I repeated this in a different TROM-Cast, but now it's maybe as well relevant because of the Monopoly game thing. And that is that there were times when I used to play Monopoly as a kid, where when I was winning or whatever, I gave the other players some money when they were losing so they could keep playing. So I was like, so they landed on my thing, and I was like, all right, I'll let it slip. You can get it next round or something like that. Or you would pay them a bit, and so on. And that's the same like Bill Gates is doing nowadays. And it's like, oh, it's giving a bit of money to the poor, or that's what basic income kind of would be. It's like the end of the Monopoly game, where the rich are giving the poor some money so they can keep playing this obsolete game. Anyway.
And some people may argue that, yeah, but maybe it's good because you keep those players in game, but you are making their suffering a bit longer,
Yeah.
And I will prefer for this game to kind of collapse. People be like, the players will be like, fuck it, it doesn't work, rather than keep this delusional thinking.
Yeah.
That, oh no, it's maybe it's working because look, they give us some money. Now we can roll the dice one more time.
Go to jail.
Let's not do it. Yeah, that's another parallel here. Interesting.
Yeah.
Even in the Monopoly game, when I was poor, I was like, I hope I go to jail. I hope I go to jail because if I land on some properties, I will become bankrupt.
And in today's system, it's equally sometimes beneficial to be in jail because you'll get more stuff than people on the street or so forth.
Yeah, exactly.
The parallels are really so extensive.
And the main difference here, the thing that it's so harmful is that you can say when you play Monopoly, you can say, fuck it, fuck, I leave it. You guys, you play, fuck it, fuck this game. It's so problematic when you cannot leave the game. And one time I wrote an article about almost like imagine some kids playing Monopoly and one kid saying, okay, I want to leave, and some say at the table they said, you are not allowed to leave, or if you leave the game, you will not have to it. Imagine if you will create a Monopoly game like this, if you make an experiment with humans and with the Monopoly game and you don't let them leave the game. You will say, if you leave it, no food for you, no healthcare for you, no this, no that, you stay on the streets. It will be very coercive, but we don't see this in our society. It's so coercive to do this. It's crazy. So this was the introduction basically to the entire book, the story basically. And now to make people aware that this is not just a story, I started to basically explain our Monopoly game, our world. And one of the biggest things that I wanted for people to understand is that money is not a problem here. Trade is the problem, because so many people, me included, when I made TROM documentary, I said this monetary system is the fault, and this is true. We create so many problems because look at your family or whatever. Why are those the stress? Where is it coming from? You lack money. You don't have money, because if you had so much money, you can get healthcare, you can travel, you can relax, and so forth. And I completely agree with this. We made a 14 hours documentary about this entire idea. But then I started to realize something. I started to volunteer for organizations like the Venus Project, for example. I worked for 4 years with them. And I got a lot of feedback from people from all kinds of directions. And I realized something. People came in at me with solutions. They said, I agree with you. Money is the problem. We have to invent our own currency. Look at cryptocurrencies. Look at Bitcoin. And I was like, wow. No, wait a minute. That's is like replacing McDonald's with Burger King. This is not the way forward. And I got a little bit concerned. I was like, okay, this creates confusion. People are understanding the problem and they're reacting with solutions to the problem. But then I was like, okay, wait a second. Money, what is money? And I said, I will write a book about money. It's called The Money Game and Beyond. And in that book, I had that was when I started to realize that, money is just a currency that represents, I have something, you have something, we trade with each other and we represent with money. It can be Bitcoin, it can be tokens, it can be Facebook likes, it can be social credits. This is another thing that scared me when I heard about China. China is like, you want a better home, you give us your data and we can track you and see if you are a good citizen, and we give you social credits. So it has become a huge and massive problem today to focus on money as the root cause, because people will say, I agree with you, and they will invent social credits and cryptocurrencies, and it's the same fucking monopoly all over the place with such solutions. And this is the second chapter of the book, trying to explain that what trades are. And I gave lots of examples, but I want to ask you guys, because I think you too, you had this idea of money, the root of all evil. But then if you think about it, it's more complex than that. So do you as well, you still had this kind of, I think,
I think from my side, it was mainly from you introducing the specific terminology of trade and then playing with that idea and so forth. I think I did understand that that money, barter, trade is an issue and so forth, but I didn't see money as like a subset of trade, of like trade producing money or producing cryptocurrencies and all those other facets. I thought of it just as another way we did it in the past. If I have some goats and I'll trade you 2 goats for some hay or something like that. But I did not necessarily think about how certain services claim that they're free and then they collect our data, and that is also you trading, or you can get free healthcare, but you still have to trade. You're having a citizenship in order to get that healthcare. All those different elements I didn't really fully understand before I then, thought of the whole concept more and more and more, and it made much more sense that way.
For me, it was also a step-by-step realization, because I was watching the documentary The Venus Project, and they kind of say we need a world of abundance and based on volunteering, and we give people what they need without having to do something in return. But it was the money game and beyond which made it totally clear for me that trade is ultimately the problem. Because also what I wanted to add is the problem of trade is it creates an imbalance of power, right? And that's what happens in the world right now. We live in a world where 1% of the people have more than 50% of the rest. And it's just it's also hard to understand that, because you think, oh, this is so fucking normal. It was we used to trade for almost the entire human history, and we trade now every day, every single day. It's based on that. So and to make this step of how could we do it beyond that, how could we make trade obsolete, because we are not saying, okay, we need to stop trade right now, we say to make it obsolete, and this is something different. So that was quite a big it took a while, but now it's totally clear. Makes sense.
Because for me as well, like it got under my skin. And then I was trying to think about so many instances in this world, and I was, oh, this is a trade, this is a trade. Because I was very also interested in this data mining, and I was seeing companies collecting data, and almost like they don't find the words to describe what is happening there. They say data collection, they say this is the attention economy. They put in so many words that can be complicated. But then when I was thinking about it, it's so basic. It's the same thing that happens when you go to work. And when you go to Facebook, the same thing happens. They want something from you, something like your data, your attention or something. It's just a trade. And that's why I realized that, wow, it's such an easy way to put all of this. And it makes so much sense. It makes the entire society so clear, like what is happening in society is so clear. And it's so important in today's world, because it is becoming more and more tricky to detect these sort of things, because like I explained so many times, so many companies are saying, oh, it's free, it's free, it's free. Our self-driving cars are free. Our Facebook is free. Look, Google Chrome is free. Everything is free. And because this gets into people's minds, it confuses them completely. They don't see those trades. And that's what that's why I think it's such an important moment now to push this idea. And I hope that others will adopt it, because I see it infecting this thing of free. It's infecting everything in this world. Free sample, free software, free cars, free ride, free wife, whatever, free Wi-Fi, whatever is there, and this is not free, so you have to ask always, like, what am I trading here? That's
100%. And I would say that before I came across this notion of really understanding that trade is the origin of most problems, I was susceptible or likely to fall into those pitfalls of being like, oh, maybe cryptocurrencies could be a way of the future, and maybe they could be a decentralized manner of that, or maybe things are for free and we should, I wasn't really questioning what operating system I'm using, or whether there is a trade going on here and that creates imbalance, and thus that will lead to all kind of other sorts of problems. So I was much more vulnerable to not to fall into all kind of different traps of, of trades. Yeah.
And once you realize about trade, you see it everywhere you go. It's crazy. And it's also interesting because when you put that glass on, so the trade glass, it makes you aware of that. And I think this is a crucial step to understand the problem. You need to know what's going on, and you need to realize that, because then you can develop solutions. You can come up with solutions.
And Cody, if you want to say something, because
Yes, sure.
Sorry for like.
Yeah, no. I'm taking care of all this stuff. So like, kind of like what I was, raised with, and like I went over this last week. But just that trade mentality. It wasn't like I didn't even have the sharing. It was so enforced. I had to own it. I had to own whatever it was, and force a trade upon somebody. Ultimately, what I was boiling it down to was like the most valuable thing you were trading away is like your time. That's as like far down as I could get it. But then it can even be reduced further to you're trading your time to do whatever it is, trading your time to stack bricks for somebody for money, or that. So it was like this naturally just made sense to me, the trade free thing. And then just with the monopoly examples, when that inequality even starts, just that one person, like they paid whatever, they were just, if they have a lower amount of money, that puts them in a vulnerable, compromised position, whereas they might be open to a deal they otherwise might not take. And that's that imbalance of power, even if you're middle class, but you're preying on somebody who is below you essentially and struggling. So yeah,
That's why it makes all of us, and I called this the act, the abusers, the charlatans, and thieves, because this is not about, people accuse rich people, they accuse billionaires and millionaires and companies and governments, but everyone is like that. Everyone, you too, you are abusing other people for sure. Your maid, your children sometimes, because you have power over them. This is an imbalance of power, because it's your home, it's your money that you earn. You have to buy food for them. You abuse your friends, and it's such a basic thing if you understand that pretty much everyone is going to be a charlatan in this world. Because if I have a business, this is the most basic thing here. If I have a business and I sell whatever you want, like tomatoes or phones, I cannot say that other people have lower prices and better quality products. I cannot afford to be a good, honest human being in this world. I can't. Even lower scale, bigger scale, I cannot afford at any scale to be like that, because I will lose. I lose that advantage. And this is what people may not understand. They may think that, oh no, yeah, there are some people who are charlatans, but I'm not. They always say about themselves, but maybe I'm not. I will be honest. No, no. I've seen pretty much every example out there, from Google to small businesses, from governments to whatever, and they all like fuck things up eventually, because it's like saying in the Monopoly game, I will be a good player, and I will not cheat, and I will not, and so forth. But this is not going to happen. Oh, hi there.
hello.
Can you hear us? We can hear you, but just a little bit. I think your Wi-Fi or your connection is not that great. And basically, I didn't get that. I think the signal is very poor.
Yeah, I want to just comment. If you can hear me okay, can you confirm again?
I think I can hear you a little bit, but not that well.
Okay, I'll wait to share until I'm gonna move to a better connection.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't get that exactly.
Oh, she was saying wait for a better connection.
Mm-hmm. And to like summarize the second part of the book, I gave several examples that are huge trades example today. The data trade, this is massive, the data trade. Everybody's trading data. It's almost like it becomes even like bigger than money in a sense, because governments are using it, everybody's using it. And if you look at, I gave two examples, Google and Facebook, okay? You look at them, they are the biggest companies in the world, probably. And what are they relying upon? They rely upon data. They extract data from people, and this is the entire business. They make like 90% of their revenue is from advertising. So they want people's data and they want people's attention. If that doesn't tell you that data trade, it's immense, it's huge, then I don't know what. So data trade, it's immense. And the same way goes for social credits or influencer marketing. And influencer marketing, if you want to like any of you to do you know what that is?
Influence marketing.
Influencer marketing, yeah.
Oh, like so like famous people or whatever, they'll like target them with like a brand deal or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, I use this like great iPhone," texted from my Android or whatever, and yeah, yeah, it's stuff like that. You kind of build your brand into like a person almost, or yeah, the influencers is
on Instagram, right?
yeah, pretty well. Yeah, that's a big one right now.
Yeah.
You basically just make your identity like a conglomerate of a bunch of different products. You're just like a bunch of different brands.
Human
together.
embodiment of an advertiser.
Exactly.
Yeah, you are like just coated in NASCAR stickers and sponsors. And
I think there was a TROM meme with Ronaldo or something with all the different
yeah.
brands on him.
I think in the past it was this joke that when I was like a little that what if I rent my forehead and I put here an advertising and they could pay me, I can tattoo it. But you know, interestingly enough, it happens today not on your forehead, but on your Instagram account. You know, they say, "Oh, look at this clothes," but and the idea here is that those trades can be direct, no money involved. They give them products and they advertise those products. So you see, this is huge on YouTube and on Instagram, and yeah, this data trade, influencer marketing, and social credits are some of the biggest trades today, and I showcase that. So the other, whoever is joined, it's okay now? Can you?
Hello, can you hear me?
I don't know you told me. This is Erica.
Yeah, we hear you both.
Yeah.
No, okay, sorry.
Okay, so what are your names? Can you tell us your names? So.
Oh, we can't hear. Your mic is muted. Sorry, I don't know.
I'm Erica.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Erica. And Francesco?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So it's working for you now, right?
Okay, yeah. Great.
Perfect. So if you want to add, if you follow the discussion and you want to add something, or...
No, I didn't follow, so I'll wait just a bit.
Sure.
We can build upon it. And just,
I've been listening since the beginning, and I did want to you definitely have been following the process with hearing the word trade, and I definitely resonate with some of the people that how they explain they worked up to the full understanding of trade. And for me, also,
I can hear you very low, by the way. I can barely hear you. Is that only for me, guys?
No, it's tough. The way you're positioning your mic, there's a way that you come through very clear, and a way you kind of sound muted or where.
Okay.
It's still bad.
It's not
yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check back in a moment. I'm gonna grab my headphones.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So Francesco, we discussed about the second part of the book. So you also read the book, and it was about the types of trades that exist in the world that do not involve money. You know, like data trade and influencer marketing and stuff like that. So we discussed that. That's why it's important to not blame money, but blame trade if you want to blame something, you know, because else you will get confused or tricked by such trades all the time. You know,
oh yes, not only that, but also like abundance. You can have, for example, if you think at a store where you go buy food, the shelves are all filled up with foods, but you can't get it. So it's also that a form of trade. You have to do something, maybe not just money. Maybe you have to work for them in order to get food back, even if it's not money. You know.
Exactly, and you brought a very important point here, because people are saying, why do you accuse trade as being the source of most problems and not scarcity, for example? Because
Yes.
whenever it's scarcity, there will be problems. Because, like Francesco explained, we have an abundance of stuff already, but it's not shared with people. Like, look at YouTube. People say YouTube it's abundant with videos, and pretty much everyone agrees. You can find any fucking there. However, you are trading stuff. You trade your attention and your data, and people get confused by such things. And in 5 years, Google will come and say, we have a, like I explained before, we have a fleet of self-driving cars. It's abundant. Everyone can get it for free. But you miss the point here. You miss the things that, like, you go into that car and you have to watch an advertising, an ad to something, or you have to give your data. That's why focusing on scarcity is not going to give us a way forward. And just to mention this, I used to think the same. I used to think that, okay, scarcity is the source of most problems. But then I came across Peter Diamandis, and this guy is like, it's a millionaire. And he wrote 2 books about abundance. And I started to read them. And I was like, oh, fuck me. You know, this is what they are trying to do here with abundance. Because he was like, yes, scarcity creates problems. And I agree with that. But then he said, we have to create an abundance like Facebook is. Look, it's free. Self-driving cars will be free because of ads. And I was like, fuck, this is not the kind of society that I'm imagining, you know? So that's why they can molest this idea of scarcity in today's society.
And it's then it creates so many backwards like situations where people think it's a good thing that's happening. You also mentioned in the book how some airports are also offering free internet, like in Amsterdam airport and so many airports all around the world. But they track every move you make and they track exactly what you're doing, and of course they then advertise all kind of different things to you. So you might have access to the internet in an airport, which you might need, but you're obviously not getting it without any repercussions or you giving anything back.
Let's say we put scarcity as the enemy here and say, look at our enemy scarcity. And we take all of our weapons, we sharpen them and everything. And then we see Google with their fleet of cars. And Google says, our fleet of cars is abundant. And you say, okay, we shouldn't attack them because it's abundant. YouTube will say, we have an abundance of videos. And you say, oh, okay, that's probably good because that's what we want. This is the antidote to scarcity, it's abundance. So you will get tricked. But if you take, if you say trade is the source of most problems, then it's so simple because when Google comes along and says, we have an abundance of cars, you say something simple, you know, what am I trading here? What do you want from me? And they will say, I think we need your data and your attention. And then you'll be like, okay, this is a very slippery slope path because you will fuck things up. You will make consumers, like you will make me want the new iPhone because of those ads. You will focus more on the ads and not on the service itself. You know, it goes downhill. Anybody disagrees? If so, please let me know. And if not, I can.
I've noticed that in apps as well. Any application, I mean, like you read it and it seems like it's free, but there's definitely something underneath it. And some other, on a bigger point of that, of like where we can end up is that maybe even like economically, they could be talked about giving free things, but also at what expense. And so I think any socioeconomic idea could rise up and not have those intents, but it also reminds me of like contributionism. And a lot of people kind of connect that with resource-based economy, open source economy, sharing economy. But at the same time, it's like they're very strict as it is trade-based. It is your trade, your labor to get free things, resources from the community. So I think that will be a better way to clear things up, saying trade fee. So yeah, that was my comment on that.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to jump to, because it's connected to the third chapter, I wanted to showcase that this is a real thing with trade. Like the more that you engage into trades, the more you will fuck things up. And I went through like space exploration or healthcare or knowledge, open source, scientific research, and so forth, to showcase like what's the difference between, let's say, a non-for-profit in this world and a for-profit in this world. And I gave an example like NASA versus SpaceX. When NASA goes into space, they have the finances for the government, and their mission there is mainly to explore the space. But SpaceX, and people are so excited about SpaceX and the privatization of space. But SpaceX, they have to make those money somehow. They have to engage into trades because they invest money and then they go there and then somehow they have to make money, like maybe sell the scientific research, sell their photos, engage into all kinds of shit like that. And this is going to break things up like completely. Like you watch like Wikipedia versus Everpedia. What do you trust more? A scientific research conducted by a drug company and it's about a drug, or scientific research that is sponsored by the government and it's investigating a drug? What do you trust more? Because I cannot trust a company that invests into scientific research that can bring them a lot of profits. That's the idea here. The closer you are, I created like a trade bubble. The closer you are to this trade bubble, the more you fuck things up. The farther away, like it's open source or it's Wikipedia or it's sometimes NASA and sometimes other non-for-profit organizations, the better the things are going to get in this direction.
Theo, somebody in the comments wrote, trade is a natural distribution of goods all organisms participate in. But traits are also passed through from your ancestors genetically. It's essential for evolution.
Like it's almost like the argument that if you see some people raping girls, you will say that, oh, maybe it's genetic and it's an evolutionary advantage to rape girls to make more babies. Like it's such a stupid argument, this thing with it's evolutionary. Like what do you mean? It's something genetic into us that want to trade? Guess what? I don't trade and I don't like to trade. What am I, a mutant? Come on.
Maybe.
I have a question about exchange, because what is a trade? Trade and exchange, what is the difference, or is it the same? Or because in Germany there is a group and they say exchange is a problem, and they push the idea of exchange logic free, which is kind of trade free, but yeah, basically it's the same, but it's another word. Or
in the book, like I explained, we talk more about the macro trades, not the micro trades, because like I explained in the book, take open source. You may think that, okay, this software is open source, okay? You may think that, but people from the open source community will disagree with you. If you put the open source under a microscope, you will see thousands of licenses and people disagreeing with each other. So the more you go deep into even the nature of our world, go deep into the atom and and the nucleus, and you will find quarks. And no one understands quarks. It's bizarre, And the example I give is like we use a meter, let's say, to measure things and to build buildings and so forth. But if you were to put the microscope on what a meter is, what is a meter? You understand what a meter is, because in one side you have one atom, in the other side you have another atom, and they have electrons orbiting. You can never know exactly where the electron is orbiting because it's so small you cannot touch it. So if you go crazy and you put a microscope on everything like this, it will make no sense. However, we use the meter to build stuff in the same way that we use the open source. The general idea of open source, the macro idea of open source, to build lots of interesting software and useful. Same here with trades. Don't put the microscope. Because someone asked me, what if I have a pair of shoes and you have a pair of shoes and we exchange that? Well, if you didn't like abuse anyone, or it's not like a trade or anything like that, or whatever, it could be sharing. I don't know what happens there, but these are micro trades. It's like saying I go to pee because this makes me feel good. Is that a trade? Because I went to pee and it felt good, and now it's a trade. It's stupid. We don't have to go to there. Go to macro trades. What are macro trades? Simple. We want food in this world. I want to eat. How do I do that? I cannot in this world. I have to go to work. They have to give me money. I have to get food from someplace. I need healthcare. What do I do? In many instances, I have to, again, go to work, they gave me money, I have to go to pay for my medical bills. How is it the same? Take the macro trades, don't forget about these micro trades, the little ones, macro, go macro. That's my answer here. If this makes sense. Because I know that people sometimes focus on, they want to find something that doesn't make sense there so that they discard the entire idea. They're like, okay, but how do you answer this guy? Is this a trade? And if I don't have any proper answer, they may think, okay, this idea is bullshit or something. But nothing is perfect in this world. Nothing is so exact in this world. We can never achieve like a trade-free world, or only like more or less trade-free goods and services whenever we can. And I will give you examples later on. But that's the idea here. Exchange, I don't know, is this exchange or is this a trade? It is not something very obvious. Look there. It's very obvious when you go on Facebook and Facebook wants your data and your attention, and you know that 90% of Facebook's profits are from advertising. It's easy to understand what they want from you. That's a trade. Can you visit Facebook without trading your data? You cannot.
But basically, trade and exchange is the same concept but different words, or I would say.
Probably depends what language you use.
Yeah.
If you do something expecting something else in return, then it's trade.
That's a trade.
But
and it depends, because it's like if I do something and I expect for you to say, okay, thank you. Yeah, it could be like a micro trade, whatever. But it depends. I mean, of course it's easy to make the difference between that and you do, I do, and I'm asking you for like money or for work, for 8 hours a day work instead of a thank you. Of course there are differences here between these kinds of trades, but we are talking about the macro trades. So let's not lose focus. And I explained that in the book. Let's not lose focus, because I am part of a few open source communities here and there. Believe me, it's crazy. I never realized this, but if you go and you debate with them about open source, it will make no sense. It's like almost like touching quarks. It doesn't make sense anymore. They say, oh, this is not open source. This is open source. This is free and open source. This is data free and open source. They have so many, but we should not concern with that. It doesn't compare.
Yeah, talking about language is like, I was wondering, Tio, do you have like a 1 or 2 sentence definition of trade free that you could easily communicate with people? Because in a sentence, when you're saying like the root of most problems is trade, people will still have their own definition. So is there something that you've developed that you can quickly communicate that?
So I made like I made like an acronym to put it in a nice way. It's called WAIT, and if you take that acronym, it's like, what am I trading? And I'm saying to people, every time you meet, you get to face a product or a service, I think you can ask a simple question like, what am I trading here? What am I giving away? Because if you do that, you will start to realize what trade is basically. If you visit Facebook or Google and you say, what do I give away? Do I give something away? And if you ask this question, maybe you will realize what you give away is data in that case. In terms of healthcare, you say, what do they want from me? What do I give away? I have to be part of the Spanish tribe, for example, here to get free healthcare. So this is one simple way. I invented like 2 tools in my own world to detect such things. So this is the first one. It's like a question mark. Like I said, take with you the question mark everywhere you go. And whenever you meet you get to confront a good or a service, ask yourself a simple question: what am I trading? And from here on, you can maybe understand this notion. And I have another one, but it's a bit more complicated. But that's what I would say. And it's in a sense, as soon as you start to get this idea, it starts to make more and more sense. I understand that someone who is new to this idea may find a bit difficulties to understand it, but then you kind of get a hold of it, and you will think that, okay, it's quite easy to understand because it's this exchange basically of stuff that happens between people. And this creates an imbalance of power. That's what it is. Big scale, small scale, something like that.
Yeah, and we have to think about it, trade in the 21st century, because as soon as you say that, people are just like, yeah, thinking back into goats and pigs, it's like, but it's really upgraded, and it's a way that is not as visible, but it's still clearly there, and a lot of people don't even know that that's happening. So it's good to educate and inform as well. So yeah, that was pretty clear. Thanks, Theo.
And it's pretty today they are realizing this. Many companies and many organizations, they realize that this data mining thing, or attention economy, there are more and more voices saying about such things. They just don't word them like that, but it's the same thing. And people are starting to realize that, Facebook is not really free, Google is not really free. That's interesting, They start to realize such things. We just make it a bit, I would say, a bit easier to grasp it.
Yeah. There's also this documentary called "The Data is the New Oil," or something along those lines. And when I watched that, it kind of as well gave me a good understanding of how data is now becoming this now new currency in a way that's been trading, or that one can trade and companies are trading and stuff like that. But yeah, I think more and more people are getting aware to some maybe of the fact that these services and all these things are not free. Actually, there are other things that they are exchanging. And,
they're money free, cryptocurrency free.
Money free, but not free. Yeah.
That's interesting. When you put it like that, it is a verbal trick in a way, but it can also change the way that you think about it. Because if you say, "Is this trade free?" it implies a lot more than saying, "Is it free?"
Yeah. And for me as well, like I've also seen like there are many people I've met as well who have money, but they have many problems as well within the society because they have the wrong passport or and so on, and they are not able to get certain services that another person from another tribe is able to get. If you come from a third world country but you have a lot of money, you're still not entitled to all kind of different things that a person from a tribe, who's entitled to such things, you cannot get the same services, and you will still have to trade all kind of other things in order to get them, unlike someone from a different tribe.
And that's the next chapter in the book. I kind of looked at the world in the world has two monsters basically. In general, it has like the government and the private sector of this world, the companies, the private sector, And if you look at the world, these are the creatures that existed for many years. Like the government is that for the people, or whatever they say there, they take taxes from the people in a forced way. They put laws in place and say you are allowed to do this or that, or you're not allowed to do this or that. And this is the difference here. Like both of them they want trades. Because if you look at China, why is it China so concerned about what people watch, what people do? Because they want to maintain their structure there. And the only way to do this is to trade, because they take stuff away from the Chinese people. If you are not behaving well, they will take away freedom from you. They will take away your money, your properties, your right to vote. So even jail, if you think about this is something that I realized not long ago. I realized that jail or laws are just another way to deal with trades, because that's what they are saying. They are saying, if you don't respect our rules, we take away something that we give it to you for free, like the fact that you can walk in our country, you walk freely, you can go and buy food. No, we put you into a box, and we give to you a limited amount of goods and services. That's how you hurt people in today's world. Back in the days, you cut their heads. Today, you cut their trades. That's how it is. It's interesting to put it like that, because that's how it is. That's why when you go to another country, there are other sets of trades. In UK, you may not be able. They don't let you drink until you are at the age of 21, for example. In Philippines or whatever, I've seen that you're not allowed to sell chewing gum, which is crazy, but it's their laws. If you do that, something will happen to you. They will take something away from you, like your money, or your freedom for like a week. So it's an interesting way to put it like that. because I looked at for that part of the book, I looked at surveillance and control, abuse and corruption, war and propaganda, and then when it came to the private part of the world, the companies, I looked at several things like internet and digital, clothes and furniture, media, transportation, and healthcare. And what I realized, asked myself, who is owning the world? This is a big question to ask. Like, who is owning for real now? And I started to do like, my research, and basically after months and months of research, I realized that 175 companies basically own the entire world, like food production, cars, the internet, most of the operating systems in the world, the digital stuff, the hardware stuff, and it's crazy. And I made it a big search engine, and you can go at tronsci.com/tbf. It's a big search engine with millions and millions of items there, and you can search like Coca-Cola or a brand name or even an artist to see who owns it, who owns that human being or who owns that product. And it's so eye-opening, because I went with that search engine in stores when I was testing it, and I was putting their brands even here in Spain. I was putting this brand for chocolate, this brand for a soda, and I was like, "What the fuck is this company owning like half of this store? What is this? What is happening?" There are companies like I never heard of. It's called like Mondelez International. They are so huge. They own pretty much every like sweet brand, like for sweets, like every brand for sweets. PepsiCo is the one who makes the Pepsi, the so-called enemy of Coca-Cola or something like that. They made pretty much all of the snacks in the world. It's crazy. I cannot explain to you. That's why I made the search engine. And that search engine, you search for that, and even movies. Search any movie that you want, and you will see who made that movie. So all of these 175 companies are owning the world, and the only thing that they want is trades. I want your money, I want your data, or something like that. And that was like I'm not ashamed to admit it, that I'm very proud of this search engine, because I'm like, wow, I use it sometimes. I'm curious, I'm using it. And below it, you will see a huge infographic to put everything in perspective, to show you like, this is, look, the food, who owns the food, the supermarkets, the hardware, the software, the resources. So yeah, it was a huge work.
Just listened to that podcast actually, I think 2 days ago with you and Dima, and it was fantastic how you guys broke it all down and everything. Really, really interesting how everything is just controlled by those corporations, those few corporations, or a great majority of it, at least.
Yeah.
Those are the big players in the Monopoly game, right?
Big farts, to be precise.
Big farts, yeah.
But it's crazy to realize, because I've seen some infographics online about, oh, look who owns the food or something like that. But I wasn't happy with that. I was like, I want to know everything, cars and whatever the fuck you imagine, even like fish production. I was like, who catches all of the fish in the world, who is selling them? What about supermarkets? What about this? What about that? And it's a crazy world to get into. I was feeling like I was like, fuck, I will lose my mind now, because I don't know where to go from here. But when you put this and you create this picture of who owns the world, this is my way to prove that the game that we play is exactly like the Monopoly game, the board Monopoly game. Just a few companies. How many people do you think work for all of those companies? Let's say a few millions at max. Compare that with 7.6 billions that we are on this planet Earth. And now you realize that a few millions are owning the game, basically.
Yeah, that's a huge inequality.
Yeah, that's incredible, Tio. Whoa, my jaw's like dropped. Like I definitely knew about a lot of it, but they hide it so well because they have their own logos and their own branding. But when you look in the back, it's always like that parent company. On a maybe a little bit more positive note, I did see that there was a report that came out that said small farmers feed the world. They produce more than half of the world's food and calorie needs. Small farms, like 12 acres. So I thought that was interesting, that at least that they haven't taken over. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's just something I read.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky with that as well, because sometimes those take Fonterra, I think it's called, in where is that? I don't know, Switzerland. It's owned by many farmers, but it's a big business basically, and they produce 30% of all of the dairy. How do you say that? Dairy
Yeah.
products.
Milk products.
Yeah, 30%. They are huge. So yeah, it depends, because even small farmers and small businesses. I know here in Spain, I live in a very small city, and they produce, for example, apples. They grow them. And if you go to a plantation here, you will see people from Africa enslaved here. Basically, they come here for low wages, and they work for these small farmers, and they produce locally, but they still abuse people from other parts of the world. So I'm trying to be positive and optimistic, but I'm still like, I don't know. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think you guys also mentioned, sadly, that Bayer, or Monsanto, now Bayer, owned like 90+% of all seeds, or have the patents to that. Something along those lines.
It's a huge number, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe not 90%, but a huge percentage.
I think at least beyond half. I think, like above half or something like that. And even here, it's like big companies always acquire small companies or small groups of farmers, or because even if, let's say, you are a group of farmers, you want to produce locally, and honestly, now companies are owning the seeds, so you will depend on them. You will depend on their seeds, to buy them and to grow crops, and it's a very fucked up chain.
And don't forget that those seeds don't replicate. When you plant them, the plant will grow, but it will not give seeds back. So you have to buy seeds back from Bayer. That's crazy.
Like online, it's like DRM for seeds.
DRM for
It's
life.
crazy. For life, yeah. It's crazy that this is possible or accepted.
Yeah, I would say with the percentages, I know for sure like corn and something else is like up in 90%. And of course we can, soy and corn. Soy is like 93% and corn is about 80% owned by Monsanto. And you can imagine how much that's in pretty much all of our products. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that people are against, for example, Monsanto. And yes, maybe they did like some shady shit, and now they are bought by Bayer, so they are not even like Monsanto independent kind of company. But they should be more concerned people about these trades or business practices, like they will say, because it doesn't matter if it's Monsanto. Any other company with that power fuck things up and will abuse people and other smaller farmers and so forth. Like Nestle, it's so huge, this company. Jesus Christ, I mean, I had no idea it produces pretty much, I think, all of the bottled water. Like all of the brands are owned by them.
It's a giant.
Giant. It's crazy. I couldn't even get through all of the stuff that they own, because it's so difficult, because they're a company, they own another company that owns another company that owns another company and that owns another company, and then they have some brands here. And it's so difficult to get through all of that, all of this chain of events, to see where is the root of all that. It's very tricky. And I didn't even get into the like sports clubs and stuff like that. I was like, I will not get into that, because even those are owned by a few millionaires there, the sports club or billionaires and stuff like that. So it's crazy, yeah. And another thing that I said in the book is called that we didn't talk a little that much about is breaking promises. I made a section there showing that so many companies promise that, okay, I will be good will behave well. Google started with don't be evil. They had like this big logo, don't do evil, something like that. And now Google is the fucking, like, they collect everything. They had this argument back in 2004, as I remember, and they said, we are not like Yahoo or whoever was there, the big search engine. We are not like them. We provide you correct search results because those people, you could pay them to put your results higher. But Google was bragging about, we are so honest. We put there the organic search results, not the paid ones. And now Google is fined by European Union like 2.7 billion because they push their products further into this Google search results. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, and I also saw you mentioned in that area that Mark Zuckerberg then also was interviewed, I don't know, a couple of years ago by the BBC about whether or not the content produced by the users will be sold or not, or who does the data belong to? Does it belong to the users or does it belong to Facebook? And he was like, yeah, it belongs to the users, and we will only share it with those users that other users want to share it with, and it will not be sold and so forth. And that's obviously very, very far from reality.
Now he is a meme.
Yeah.
He became a meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lie. Even like everyone lies because they become like Microsoft acquired LinkedIn, or they acquired GitHub. The biggest place of open source projects. They don't have the good intentions. It's impossible to have good intentions in this world. I'm not saying that they have this evil plan. I'm just saying that they follow their profits. That's all I'm saying. So that's basically it. I'm not sure what else to say.
Keep playing the game. You have to accept the money and be a charlatan or a thief or an abuser. It's the same in the Monopoly game. When someone lands on your field, if you can be a nice guy and not accept the money, but then you'll probably not be playing any longer, and other people will start winning, and that's it.
There will be others who will get into you. Like you don't get others and you don't hurt others, others will hurt you back.
Exactly.
That's problematic. Okay, so maybe we should go to the last part, because I think this is the most interesting part here, because we kind of agree that we have so many problems, and maybe more and more people will agree that trade is the source of most problems. Like I argue a lot. But they always ask, what now? No, what? Okay, so what should we do now? What is the plan? Theo, tell me, what is the plan? Like, as if I am Gandhi or something. Like, who am I, Jesus? I don't know. So what is the plan moving forward? Okay, so if you are for that answer, it will come, but you may not be very happy with it. So the first section of this chapter, first I asked myself, maybe we shouldn't do anything. Maybe the world is getting well, slowly, but maybe it's getting well. Because is this guy called Steve Pinker who says, don't worry, you pessimistic guys. The world is getting better and better. And he presents all kinds of statistics. And people contacted me and said, Theo, what are you doing there at TROM-Cast? Look, the world is getting better. What are you struggling there for, So the first section of the book is basically Tom Superhero talking to this Steve Pinker guy. And Steve Pinker guy is going to present some statistics, but Trom Superhero is smart enough to present other statistics. So you will see there that in reality, the world is not getting better. And I can give you some examples, like terrorism, it's growing exponentially higher, like terrorist attacks and deaths from terrorism. Inequality, wars. We kill the same amount of people today that we killed 400 or 600 years ago, the same amount of people, not reported to the population, but overall. What did I say there? Oh, meat consumption is going up and up and up and up and up, and we know that it's a big problem with meat consumption. Obesity, the people are getting more and more obese, like more of the population is getting into that kind of thing. Suicides, are still a thing today. There are, I think, 1 million people committing suicides every year. So this part of the book was like, let's make sure that maybe we are not wrong, because maybe we are wrong and maybe the world is getting better. But from all I see, all of those statistics is not getting better. And that was the focus. on the first part, because I said the following. I said, I think you are right and wrong. Like maybe you are right and the world is getting better. And if you are right, then we are getting better so slowly that it's problematic. So I cannot accept that. We need to speed things up. And if you are wrong, then let's follow what we have to say here. So that doesn't matter if this guy Steve Pinkel or others are saying that the world is getting better. It doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. I think it's useless anyways. We have a lot of shit going on in the world. We have to fix it somehow. So that was the... Okay. I think it's a phone.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, not mine.
Someone is calling. Maybe it's the government, Cody.
I gotta go.
So let's get to the part that everybody's probably waiting for. How do we get from this trade-based society to, let's say, trade-free world society? And first of all, let's talk about a little bit about a resource-based economy, because so many people are talking about this resource-based economy. I want to mention a little bit about this, because from documentary, I made like I first 10 hours or so are all about the problems and alternative solutions. Problems and alternative solutions. And the last part is like, look, there is an idea called the resource-based economy by the Venus Project, and it presents this, like it clusters everything together and says, look how the world can be like this resource-based economy. Let's use our resources in a way that we have access to whatever we need and want and so forth. And it's a big part of the TROM documentary. And I agree with that. I think Jack's ideas are very interesting and really great. And I worked with TVP for a long time, and I always agree with that. I disagree with the TVP, the organization, how they run things, but I agree with Jack's work. And many people are aware of this resource-based economy. And in time, I noticed something. Many groups came to the Venus Project and said, wow, you have the solution. We want to be part of it. And whatever TVP did, like maybe they are not that good at harnessing people's motivation and so forth. And people got a bit upset with the TVP, and they took the idea of resource-based economy, and they said, fuck off, we are going to create our own resource-based economy. So they took this idea and they said, okay, we create a resource-based economy. And many groups sparked into existence who said, we have the solution, this resource-based economy. No, we have the solution, is our interpretation of resource-based economy. And it became like a huge pile of organizations. And to me, it became a little bit confusing over time. Even when I worked with TVP, I was like, I don't understand anymore what these people are wanting, okay? Because a resource-based economy, it's very hard to define unless I listen to you or to you or to you. What do you want? What do you mean by that? It's like saying open source. It depends, open source software, open source hardware, what kind of software, That's why I always say it's TVP's resource-based economy that I agree with. Maybe there are other people who come up with this, like an alternative that I also agree with. But I started to realize that this is not the right way to go forward. I agree with it. I think it's a beautiful idea. I think it's great, but I think we should, even if I agree with it, I should take another path to this kind of world. So I will promote resource-based economy. I will talk about it. I will wear a T-shirt if that's what I want. But I'm not going to wait for someone to build the resource-based economy, a community or a city or whatever. I'm not, because I never in history, I have never seen anything that societies do not change like that. And the best example that I can give you, and I will let you all talk after I give this example, open source. Think about open source. When people had this idea of open source back in the 70s and 80s, they didn't sit around the round table and think about, how would an entire world of open source be, like with self-driving cars and open source, even the elevator in a building to be open source and software and websites. They didn't do that. They didn't try to create an open source world to prove to the world that an open source world is possible. No, they started small. They started to make some applications here, some applications there. They started with education. And in this way, it infiltrated the society. And now we are in a world where it's a lot of like open source software in the world. They didn't need this huge let's build a city kind of thing. And this is my argument here, that I will not wait for that. If this happens, perfect. I will cheer for it. But I will take another direction. We will talk more about this direction. But if you want anyone to talk about resource-based economy, what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, from my perspective, like you've said, it's very, very difficult to define. And when people were asking me, "Oh, what is a resource-based economy?" it took me a while to get into, and there were so many different concepts that needed to be taken into account somehow. In comparison to the trade-free concept, I think it is 10 times much more clearer. And like you, I don't know, you'll probably go into this much more, but it's also understanding that there are many solutions to a single problem, and that you need to kind of understand the problem fully if you want to be able to offer solutions. And that one organization will have a solution to the problem. There will be, like the open source idea, there can be all kind of different solutions, and there can be many different variations in terms of tackling the same problem, which for the open source community was proprietary software. And then they would come with all kind of different solutions to that single problem. And the same as trade being the problem, there can be many different organizations and many different solutions to that problem being trade. And that's a much healthier approach and much more scientific approach, because it's decentralized and it takes the attention away from a single organization saying, okay, this is how it's going to be, and this is how it is. There's no scientific investigation or like continuous improvement towards tackling the unified issue. Because if you can agree upon the problem, then the solutions will follow, kind of.
I realize I'm happy that you brought this, because it was my next thing to say. I realized something that is really dumb if you think about it, but really it's so real. There are no solutions unless there is a problem. And of course, what are you talking about? That's the definition of a solution, right? To solve the problem. But people don't think in this way. And they try to focus on solutions, like, oh, resource-based economy, but they forget what was the problem in the first place. And if you look at societies, that's how societies develop. They have a problem. Take infectious diseases. I give this example of infectious diseases. They have this problem, really big problem. It killed billions of people for the past 2,000 years. And because they focused on the problem and they said, what the fuck is this? What is happening? They were so confused. And then through scientific research and so forth, they discovered that little organisms, microorganisms, they get into the water, they get on your hands, they get to your mouth, in your lungs, in your bloodstream, and they will make people sick. As soon as they realized this enemy, these little creatures, they came up with solutions like, let's boil water before we drink it, because we kill the infection, the little organisms. Let's not stay around other sick people, because somehow they can transmit those microorganisms to you. And interestingly, like 100 and some years ago, they come up with a simple solution. They said, when you deliver babies, doctors should wash their hands. Today, it's a normal thing. But back in the days, because you didn't know what's the problem, we didn't know those little creatures on your hands, they didn't do that. So as soon as they started to wash their hands before delivering babies, the doctors, the mortality of infants dropped significantly, in a significant way. Today, we have so many solutions for the infectious diseases. We have sanitation, we have like vaccines, we have prevention, we have all kinds of things. Again, one solution, many problems. The same happens with open source or everything. Open source is nothing more than a reaction to the proprietary software. They said, proprietary software is a problem. Let's come up with solutions. You can call it like Huba Buba, whatever. It's an antidote to proprietary software. Okay, that's a solution, And this is what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying it's not important to focus on a solution. It's always important to focus on a problem. Cancer, it will be solved. Not today, maybe not tomorrow. In 10 years, maybe. 100 years, maybe. At one point, it will get solved. Why? Because we focus on a problem called cancer. Same with Alzheimer's, same with Parkinson's, same with everything. Transportation, this is the last example, and then you can talk about other, you can intervene, so you can stop me because I have no air to breathe anymore. Take transportation. what is the solution to transportation? Well, ask someone 100 years ago and they will say it's horses. 80 years ago, they will say, okay, maybe it's cars. 50 years ago, they will say, maybe it's airplanes. Today, they will say, maybe it's Hyperloop. You see, so many solutions for one single problem. And this is how society evolves, never reaching an end. But as long as we have the problems inside, we will solve it. But you never solve it completely. You only remediate the problem. You can never achieve like a perfect world of transportation or cancer-free, or even today people are dying from infectious diseases. But it's a progress. And that's my point here. Focus on the problem, and the problem will give rise to solutions. Can that solutions be a resource-based economy? Maybe other solutions. I need to drink water.
Yeah. Excellent. I agree with that, and I think by setting the standard of trade free, you really help bring some clarity to the different organizations and to when we're looking at the problem of it with trade, then it's a lot which organizations fall where, and it's a hard thing to do, like you did with TVP, and there's some other like with contribution with them, with like once and Tellinger, like those things, then at least it can bring some more clarity to moving forward in a more cohesive way. So
Yeah,
I agree. Do you guys agree?
yeah, completely agree. And it was always difficult. I'm sure, I don't know how it was for you guys, but difficult for me to explain. All right, so what do you now do if a resource-based economy is the solution? What do? You know what I mean? And how is the transition going to happen? Oh, then you say a city will be built, and because environment shapes behavior, people in that city will then change, and we need to build more cities and so forth. But who will be like allowed to participate in those cities or go into those cities? So there will be so many other trade elements, and it might be commercialized to some extent. There might be all kind of other factors in play because they don't fully understand the core issue at hand. And yeah, and that gives me much more hope because it's much more decentralized, and everybody can participate in all kind of different creative ways, and you can be creative with this concept of trade being the core issue. And there's so many versions of trade-free services, like for example Wikipedia being amazing in many different areas and offering somewhat of a trade-free to some extent. Of course there are other elements maybe where it's not fully trade-free. And also Doctors Without Borders, for example, not discriminating their service of helping people all across the world, not just, if you're a Danish citizen, you get access to the Danish healthcare system, but regardless of your nationality, you will be able to access their medical services that they're offering. So there's so many different ways in which people can get involved. And I think it's also empowering to people, and it embraces this concept of volunteers and people saying, all right, I'm going to be active and I'm going to fight against this. That's the last chapter. I love that it's called Fight, because it's empowering people to get involved and to participate and be like, you know what, actually I can make a difference, and I'm going to fight against this common enemy, which it was like the bacteria back in the day, or these microorganisms, and today it's like trade, and you can come up with all kind of different solutions to that problem. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. That's the beauty of it. You can start right here. You can start right now. You can offer your help for somebody trade-free without expecting anything in return. You can talk with your friends about it, and maybe you can come up with an idea, and you say, okay, let's provide trade-free guitar lessons or something, trade-free goods and services. And yeah, so it can be a movement. It can grow. And I'm so excited about it. Yeah, because if we really push this idea and more people get aware of that, it really can, grow.
I think it's the only way. It's the only way, because otherwise, what should we do? Should we start to plan to build a city? I mean, it's so difficult in this world. And people then say to me, yeah, okay, maybe I get this idea, but do you think you will change the world by providing trade-free guitar lessons, and you make some videos online as trade-free? I don't think I will do that, because we have 500 or to 600 euros a month, the budget for Trom. Give me 5 million and I will have a better plan. Give me 5 billion and I will have a much better plan. I will even write a book for Trom saying, what will I do with 5 billion? You can make so many things. Imagine if people go to protest, at least go to protest and say, we want trade-free healthcare. That's it. How do you achieve that as a government? I don't know. But you provide trade-free healthcare, or trade-free transportation. Ask the government, we want trade-free transportation. How do you provide that? I don't know. That's the beauty here. I don't care. Open source projects, okay? I use open source software all the time. Jitsi that we use now, okay? It's open source, it's made by some people. Who is financing those people? Are those people using open source computers with open source operating systems to build Jitsi? Are they sponsored by the government? Do they take donations? I don't fucking care, okay? I care that is open source. That's all I care. I cannot care about other things. The same with trade-free. I don't care how you make the trade-free product here or service. I only care that it's trade-free. If you offer food, but you get money from Bill Gates and you offer food as trade-free, I say that's a great service, is trade-free. That's all I care. And because of that, it allows so many people to get involved from so many parts of the world, because you don't put anything, you don't restrict them. You don't even say you should make a trade-free product about this or about that. No, you let them do whatever they want. The same is with open source. That's why it's working. That's my line of thinking.
Self-organizing.
Completely.
So, Sebastian, when you were talking about, or for everybody, like one city, it's just hard for me to imagine how one particular area with people living there and maybe like they're working cooperatively, everybody in like a similar understanding, but how can you offer trade-free services to other people coming in from different areas and making sure that that you have enough resources? It's hard for me to imagine resource-based economy being realized through one city. For me, it's a new operating system for the entire Earth, and that's how it functions, is because it's working for everybody, and so it's borderless, and so so that's some more clarity on how that could function.
Completely agree, and that's why, as I was saying, it cannot just work. You cannot just have one city just like that, because it's also then a bit of a central system. Whereas this trade-free concept on a global scale, anyone can do it anywhere on planet Earth, and it doesn't have to be a new city. You can do these within established, to some extent, systems, and you can, within a city like Copenhagen or whatever, you can already implement and you can already change all kind of different things. Or like Theo was saying, people can protest. I think there was somewhere in Luxembourg or something like that, where the government is offering trade-free transportation. I don't know. I read that, something like that. I don't know. Maybe they're still like spying not spying, but they're still collecting their data. But otherwise, like, it's money free, but it's not fully maybe trade free, but to some extent. So there are many different ways. If the public is aware of the problem fully, then they can approach it and they can be like, this is the issue and this is what we want. And then they will be able to demand the necessary, or a solution that will really address the issue at hand.
And this is already happening. People are saying, maybe this is a dreamy idea. Thing is, this is happening. Like Doctors Without Borders, they have 10 million patients. 10 million patients is not a small number, and they offer trade-free. They don't call it trade-free, but if you look at what they are doing, is pretty much trade-free, because they ask nothing. They go there to war zones or whatever, and they treat everyone. I give this example: is if Hitler had a heart attack, doctors should try to save him, because if you don't do that, if you start to engage in trades and be like, okay, if you're a Christian, we are not going to fix your health problems. If you don't have money, it's a very slippery slope. And actually, in many countries in the world, in many tribes, the emergency service, it's in a sense trade-free, because if you have a heart attack or if you have a problem, they will come and try to fix your problems without charging anything for that, or without caring if you're a Muslim or a Christian and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. And as you were saying then, I think, I don't know if you mentioned it last time or something like that, but if you were then to build a city, for example, they might like make quizzes, or you might have to fulfill certain requirements in order to enter the city. And then it's a slippery slope, like you said, because then you will be engaging in trades, and the whole thing will collapse because it will.
Let's imagine a city that is a resource-based economy. Okay, imagine it. TVP, let's say, is building it, and they finished it. Great, great job. Okay. Now, if TVP is saying people who participate in our city should work 2 hours a day the land, or stuff like that, or they should go to this quiz and they should know what Jax has said about this or that, or we only accept people from America because of some reasons, or they will put advertising in. This is a very slippery slope, and you will fuck things up. So that's why trade is so important, because you can have a resource-based economy that is going to fuck things up, but you cannot. It's unlikely to have a trade-free system that will fuck things up, because a resource-based economy can also be based on trades if you are not careful enough. And I know that Jack was always talking about kind of the same thing that we talk about. So if you keep the same line of thinking in TVP, if they will keep the same line of thinking, maybe they will achieve something. I doubt that anyone will invest billions to make a city and they will not want anything in return in this world. Probably they will want advertising to people should take a ticket to go to the city. I've heard even Roxanne, I think I've heard her or others saying about this. They want to make it like a park or something like that. People could come there and visit, but pay something to come and visit it.
Completely.
It's slippery slope.
Yeah, it's very, very slippery slope. And I myself know, because in the Middle East, there are a couple of cities that are not TVP type cities, but they are sustainable cities.
Like Masdar.
And I've actually been, like Masdar, exactly. I actually was there and to check it out and stuff. And it's all very, very commercialized. And it's ultimately you will have to be trading all kind of different things in order to live there. And it's the same game as anywhere else, really. It's just a bit prettier or whatever.
That's my hope here, that this thing with trade is going to infiltrate into the society. I don't have the solutions. I mean, if people come to me and say, okay, so what's the solution? What's the plan now? It's like going to Richard Stallman, the guy who pushed the idea of open source, free and open source, and say, okay, Richard Stallman, how are we going to make software for self-driving cars? What about websites? What about this? I have no fucking clue, I only know what's the problem. The problem is proprietary software, he will say. Like me, I would say, the problem is trade. I don't know. The first thing that I want for people to understand is the problem. Forget about solutions, because we will come up with solutions if we understand that this is a problem. That's why people are fighting cancer. Present cancer to someone 200 years ago. Cancer is cells going nuts, but everything that you see here is cells, okay? So the probability for me to get cancer if I live forever is 100%, okay? So it's a problem that is like, what the fuck, don't even bother with it, because no one will solve it. The thing is, people are bothering with it, and they make some progress here and there, okay? So that's only because they recognize this as a problem, and they say, okay, I saw my grandma dying of cancer. I see so many kids dying of cancer. We want to solve it, just because they understand the problem. That's the thing here.
And maybe just one thing to add is, like, I think many people in a way do understand certain problems today, but they're misled into believing that climate change is the problem, or war is the problem, or poverty, or politics is the problem, or money and so on. But trade kind of is the root cause, or is the origin of these problems. Those are just symptoms of the bigger structural issue of trade and so forth.
And I want to mention that we don't say that trade is the source of all problems. We say that trade is the source of most problems. And this is the big difference. Of course, there are problems that are not maybe trade related. I don't know, some viruses that we cannot, even with the best technology, we cannot solve, or whatever, like asteroids, whatever, I don't know, we imagine. But I'm saying it's the source of most problems. And that's what we should care about. It's like those people who fight aging. This is, for me, such a great example. They started to say, look, cancer, cardiovascular disease, blah, blah, blah. They are not the problem here. They are a result of aging. People get old and they develop those diseases. 10 years ago, people were laughing at them. Today, they get millions of dollars in funding. Government it's investing into like searching a cure for aging and so forth. They pushed an idea. This is the enemy. Aging is the enemy. And people came with solutions. Maybe it's CRISPR technology that will solve it. Maybe it's stem cell therapy. Maybe we can use viruses for our advantage. I don't know. But I seen them growing and growing, and that's what I want to do with us here. Because it's not about, maybe you know the guy Abreu de Grey. He's the father of whatever, the face of anti-aging movement. But he's now getting less and less irrelevant because other organizations are coming along, you see, and they take on the job of coming up with solutions. That's what I want here. If people forget about TROM, fuck it, I don't care. If you come up with other solutions, so what? Of course, TROM is going to disappear. 20 years from now, 50, I don't know, maybe 5 years from now. I don't care about that. I care about people coming up with solutions about this problem called trade. This is not about TROM. That's what I'm trying to say. It's about the idea, problem here.
No, I think it's important thing. What Trum's kind of focusing on is actually releasing this stuff trade free in a non-trade free world, because that is something that things like the Venus Project have not managed to really necessarily accomplish. And it's like, we need to get here, but you're still gonna pay us money to push us to that moneyless society. And it's a cognitive dissonance. It's like it makes it very hard to engage with that. Whereas this is like just this organic thing that's like, it just makes sense. And it's easy to feed that when there's not that cognitive dissonance and that constant like, hey, but wait, why are we charging for this?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a huge thing, and that
I'm obsessed a little bit with this because I want to provide. I want to showcase to people that we are doing exactly what we are saying. We don't just talk. We do stuff. Like we create trade-free stuff, and this can hurt a lot in this today's society because we don't make any money. We rely entirely on people donating money to the project. So if we make a book, we say, okay, it's trade-free. What does it mean? We don't want anything from you. People say, can I download it? Sure, I don't want anything from you. Can I edit it? Sure, I don't want anything from you. Some people ask him, what is the license that you release your stuff under? Licenses, I say, it's no license. It's simply, I don't need anything. We curate documentaries, videos, news. We create software. We are working on a Linux distribution that is trade-free. Lots of stuff that we are doing as trade-free. I want to provide an example for people. Like, look, it's possible. It's possible to do such things, and we do that with a handful of volunteers and like 600 euros a month. A lot goes into servers and like stuff like that. So yeah, we are doing it. We are walking the talk, like, how do you say that?
Yeah, walking the talk.
Walking the talk.
Yeah, I think it's only possible to in a way come up with the solution if you're not engaging in this game and you're kind of rejecting the Monopoly game. You're saying, I'm not playing it. I would like to see what other type of game or system or concept we can engage in. And you cannot solve the Monopoly game by playing it,
being a player.
which is kind of what the Venus Project or this and that are doing, because if you're engaging in those trades and so forth, and you think, okay, I can build a city within this system, it's gonna be a slippery slope, and it will be nearly impossible to do it because it's still within the same trade structure.
Yeah. That's what.
So I'm not sure if I'm really clear. Maybe to get some like really if clear as possible. Like, so you're not saying about a city, and you're saying to release, to inspire communities to demand their governments to do open sourcing. Like, So what was your transition methods? I didn't quite understand that.
If you were to ask people who invented the open source, this is just an example to put something in perspective. If you were to ask them, or the people who invented the internet, what is your plan ahead about websites, comments online, videos, people should upload videos or not? No one knows. When they only have an idea, and this idea has to mutate into this world, and lots of things will spark. For example, if I say this thing with trade free, I say trade is the source of most problems, and people ask me, what's the transition plan? There is no transition plan, because we transition to nothing here. There is a constant movement. Like I gave the example, we at TROM, we are making trade-free goods and services, and we promoted this idea of trade-free. You can come along and you can make a project that will offer trade-free food for people, or just do a TED talk about, like Colin Turner that did a few days ago about trade, for example.
Yeah, so
You
so
educate
would you
and you
say that
trade.
you resonate with Colin's way of seeing that, like about just if we want to have a sharing economy, then just share, just start giving and receiving without any sort of trade. Is that
And never
kind of
forget,
just to start doing it?
And never forget to focus on telling people what's the problem here, like the trade. Because if you just start going around and sharing stuff, I think that's great. That's a great thing that you're doing. But you have to educate people. Because if you see, I'm very familiar with this open source world, and I get a lot of inspiration from there. This guy, Richard Stallman, you should search for the guy. He's a bit crazy. He's like fucking crazy. But he's like, proprietary software, that is a virus, he's saying. Windows, that's a virus. He calls Windows a virus. He calls Apple products a virus, spyware, and so forth. And at first I was thinking, like, the guy is fucking crazy. What the fuck are you talking about? He's a bit crazy. But because of his attitude, he realized that proprietary software is kind of a problem. They spy on you, they make poor products, they want your data, your attention. His attitude, showcasing the enemy here, the problem, it's what will make other people react to that and say, okay, I want to get involved. So he's not only making open source software, he's talking about the problem itself. Same here. We offer trade-free goods and services. We also talk about this problem a lot. We make it sound like, look, this is the evil thing that is happening in the world, because it is. It creates so many problems. And that's the approach here: create and educate.
Yeah, I think Freeworlder does a pretty good job of doing that, of anchoring that, unlike some other sharing platforms that are just purely sharing. I think that it anchors it on the focus of trade.
And this is what we want to do now. We bought the domain tradefree.org, and we'll make it a very simple website. And there we will describe exactly what trade-free means, and that trade is the source of most problems. Now, this is like the open source idea. We put it out there. People now can take that and put it on their website and say, okay, my website is trade-free, and they will link to the tradefree.org website, because that tradefree.org website is going to be owned by no one. We will even decentralize it. And it is going to be like, it's an idea here. And I make a website or a product, and I put a logo there and say, this is trade-free. And you can search more like a tradefree.org to see what this is all about. And this way, I hope people like Colin or others will get on board and do such things and put on their websites or their organizations. And this way, we make trade-free goods and services and promote this idea of trade-free. That's my plan now. We are going to meet up in May. Several of us from TROM, we will spend like a month together, and we will brainstorm about this. I want for all of us to get involved and properly put this into action, this plan into action. And we will make a documentary about this, because the book is so big. We want to make a documentary. So we have a lot of plans in this direction. That's what we're trying to do.
I sometimes imagine like thousands or millions of people are going in this direction, and they are walking on that. They have a plan, or they have so many ideas, and it's happening. It would be so interesting to see. But it's like aging. It's not from we won't have a trade-free world tomorrow. It's a process, and more solutions will come up, and the movement can grow. That's how you change things, I think.
And if people tell me that Yes, Theo, but you also engage into trades. You take money from people as donations. You have to buy shit. You have. I don't care. No, we provide trade-free goods and services. I don't care how you do that, and that's such an important thing here to realize. I don't care. I don't care. It's like the open source community will ask me to have Linux installed in order to create an open source application. No one asks you that. You can create it on Windows. They don't care. They only care to be open source. Same here. I don't care. Do it with the government. Do it with a company. Do it with donations. Do it if you sell merchandise, but you offer a trade-free product and service. Good for you. That's a great product probably because it's trade-free.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're not doing it for the money. That's just the thing. You're not selling it. They're you're doing the service or the product you're offering is trade free. Obviously, it would live to some extent within the system, and they are. However, you're still surviving and staying afloat. That's a different subject. Yeah.
Exactly. It gives it leaves the room. It leaves a lot of room for organizations to grow and to create trade-free goods and services because you don't put any restrictions basically to this idea. Any. It's do you want to create a trade-free like production of weapons that will kill people? I mean, I will not agree with whatever you are doing there, but it's still trade-free. Fuck it, it's like an open source application for ISIS. Still open source for fuck's sakes,
Yeah. It's also like Bitcoin. This is also to some extent open source, right?
What?
The Bitcoin.
The blockchain?
The blockchain, to some extent.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So we don't care. Yes, I may disagree with that, of course, and I won't promote the ISIS trade-free app.
Exactly.
But I don't want. If you start to put restrictions, it will be a very slippery slope, and you'll fuck things up completely. That's why I'm so hopeful about this idea, because it's so like you can take it, forget about TROM, fuck TROM, who the fuck are those guys? Fuck them. You take the idea, you go with it, and you build stuff. I don't care. Maybe someone who is a billionaire finds out about this idea, and who knows? One day I may wake up and be like, okay, Theo, you have 1 billion in your account. I will be like, oh fuck, now I have a lot of plans on my hands.
Yeah, Theo, maybe we also can talk about that other tool that you provide in the book, the Vados.
Yeah.
Vados.
Yeah. I have this obsession a little bit with acronyms. Like I was like, so this is how I started it. To put it in a little bit to explain it, if you look at Earth, it's a layer of Earth called Vados, and I didn't know about this. It happened that I come across this. This part of Earth is the most important for us. It is where we build buildings, where plants are growing from, water is filtered. This is the most important part. Okay, the healthier the Vados zone, the better the buildings you can build. The taller, the higher, the better the crops. So that's the essence here. The better the Vados zone, the better stuff you can build out of it. Okay, why is this important? Because of the name Vados. I said, okay, think about this. If you want to create a society that's sane, you should have this layer that you build stuff from to be in the same in this way, to be volunteer vitality, automated autonomy, decentralized digitization, openly operated, self-sustainable, and educational ethos. There are six like health checkpoints. So if I had $1 million and I will say I want to create a trade-free healthcare system, or I had $1 billion, I will say, okay, let's check all of these points that can be a bit difficult to explain right now, and in the book it's easier. If I rank higher on all of these 6 points, like let's take first of all volunteer vitality. Like, is my product relying on volunteers? If yes, then it's very likely that it's not trade based, as it's volunteers. It's like Doctors Without Borders or Wikipedia. Okay, is it automated or autonomous? Because if it's automated and autonomous, you don't need many people, and that's even better to be automated and autonomous. is it decentralized and digitized? Again, I mean, I can go to all of those points, but the idea here is that if you go to all of those points and you rank higher on every one of them, it's a method for you to create a trade-free good or a service. It's a direct method to do that. You know, and it could be difficult, but to explain here. But you can read the book and you can go through all of that. And that's the idea here. Is like build the soil here in a way, the soil to be as much based on volunteers as more as possible, to be automated and autonomous, to be openly operated, decentralized, self-sustainable, and scientific. That's the idea here. If those are in place, then you'll get a much better world.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should go through them, because it's an interesting way to even to check something. Like you may say, okay, is Wikipedia a trade-free service? You know, you can ask that question like, wait, what am I trading? And you say nothing. But then you go to Vados and be like, okay, is it based on volunteers? Yes, it's based on volunteers. Is it automated? Not that automated. Maybe we can improve more on the automation part. Is it decentralized and digitized? Yes, you can even download Wikipedia. Okay, so it's amazing. I don't rely on their servers. Okay, is openly operated? Pretty much yes. You can see the processes. You can get involved, right? Is it self-sustainable? Well, it relies on donations in this world, so maybe we can improve that aspect as well. And what about the educational ethos? Like the scientific reason? Is it scientific the way what they're doing? And the answer is yes. So if you go to all of those steps, you'll realize that Wikipedia is quite a good product, like it overall. And if Wikipedia will be paying their employees, you will quickly realize where the problem is. You will say, it doesn't rely on volunteers. It pays people. It means that those people are engaging into trades with Wikipedia. This is not a good sign, you know. Man, I've talked today a lot.
Good. I think you're doing like a book review right now. Now I want to go read it.
So I am taking your job, huh?
Yeah. Now I'm out of business.
I think also what you're saying, Theo, is so great, because you've heard about these Fridays for Future movements. So young children who go to school, that they demonstrate or strike on Friday, and they go on the street and say to the government, "Oh, we need to like stop the coal, the power plants. We need to go to renewable energies and all that." But yeah, what if we do that? Then we still in this trade-based society. So that's only a solution for symptoms, but not for the root problem. And that's why I think this idea is so important now.
Because I like to give this example with I told you before, imagine if all of the boats were, not sailing, but they had a motor, and you had to put gasoline into their motors. All of the boats will be like that, okay? And kids will go on Friday and say, we need to make boats sail, not use the fucking dirty oil, Look at today. Most boats are sailing, but they stay parked. In my city, there are hundreds of boats that can be sailed. They are very environmentally friendly. They are eco, but they stay parked because you have to trade to use them. So it's a huge waste of resources.
Yeah.
You go nowhere. Even if they fix climate change, maybe China will be fully electric and fully renewable in 10 years. So what? What about the social credits? What about that? All this. If anyone wants to say something, if not, I can.
Just brilliant book, and I think that everybody should read it if they want to get an understanding of what TROM is about, and maybe how trade is the origin of most problems, and how you can fight it, and so on. And I personally think those two points, at least for myself, gave me a lot of clarity. The weight and the dose, particularly in detecting trades for the weight. First asking myself, okay, what am I engaging in here is so much more clear in order to detect, those issues. And then the Verdoso zone is, I think, as well brilliant in terms of looking at organizations and asking yourself the question, okay, if you would like to do something that's trade-free, how would you like to set it up? And how could it reinforce a trade-free service the most effective way? So that's brilliant, I think.
Perfect. Yeah, it's and for anyone who wants to read it, it is full of sources. I had to watch over 150 documentaries. Imagine that for this book, and I had to take notes and notes and notes and notes. There are perhaps thousands of links there. So it's not like we just talk about this. I'm happy that we could we created a foundation, so anyone who argues against or anything, I think we have something that's solid. It's not just like a page of, okay, this is our idea of a trade. It's a lot. Like it's a fucking lot. I'm so happy. I'm happy about the book, but I'm also happy that I finished it, because I was like, fuck, I need to get done with it. And keep this in mind. This is just starting for TROM. I mean, from now on, we are going to basically start this project. And until now, it wasn't that clear in my view. But now I think we will do a lot of stuff, and we have like a path ahead. And anyone who is trying to anyone who is understanding that trade is the source of most problems will be our teammates. Okay, if you have better ideas, great for you. Okay, and that's it. That's how we are going to collaborate with each other. Not under an organization with points here and register there. No, you want to fix trade, you do it. You don't even have to tell me about it or TROM. Just do it, and that's it. That's it. And we are doing this at TROM as well. Come join us, or make your own stuff, or take our stuff and spread it to the world, and that's all it is. And if people get disappointed with this idea, just 1 second, if people get disappointed and they say, fuck, man, you spend 1.5 years and you don't give us the solution, you don't get it. I mean, I think you don't get it. Because it's like asking people who discover cancer or infectious diseases, you say, fuck it, man, you don't give any solution. Of course, who the fuck do you think I am? I cannot come up with solutions. You cannot either. TVP cannot either. Let's be honest. TVP or other organizations will not be able to change the world. It is going to be a lot of work from many directions and a continuous journey. Sorry, Aaron.
No problem. I just wanted to say that if I would be now from, I don't know, Indonesia or some country like that, and I'm listening to that right now, and I think, okay, I like this idea. I want to help somehow. And simple thing, what you can do is translate. I mean, you can take the books, you can translate them, and you can send them, and we publish them. And it's okay, we have lots of books, but I love doing that. That's how I help. And you can start now. So
let me give you an example with Aaron. Aaron translates everything into German. It's like a translation machine. I don't know how he does that, but everything is. I mean, sometimes I don't even release a book and I see it in German. I mean, what the fuck? And here's a good example. Recently, because he translated so much stuff, he contacted someone. Can you tell them about the magazine?
Oh yeah, I contacted a magazine, like an online magazine in Germany, and I told them about what we are doing, what our plans are, and they said like, "Oh wow, that's so amazing! We want to have an interview with you." And I was like, "Okay, why not?" So they sent me some questions, and I answered them. And now today they published it in German. And maybe more people are aware of TROM, what we're doing, what we're saying.
We even got an email today. Someone said, okay, I've read this article in this magazine. Wow, this is so amazing. He said, I want to get involved, and so forth. So this is just a little example,
it's so cool.
And I'm working on a page on TROM, like help people, whatever you can do to help us, like translate or make videos or proofread. I will make a big list, and anyone can get involved. So I cannot wait to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, even if I translated now many books, there are still some errors in it. I'm sure about that. So you can report them. You can send me what is missing or any error, and I can correct it. And so any help is welcome.
Just let me add this. I'm amazed. For the past year, something really interesting happened to Trom, and a year ago probably it wasn't that much activity, but now I see so many people getting involved, and we have Trom site translated in 4 languages. I think we will get another one like Romanian language these days, 5 languages, and we have lots of materials. Seb is doing videos, lots of new interesting videos and stuff. Cody is helping with the streaming and everything, like lots of stuff, and this decentralizing stuff. Aaron is translating. The other people, it's so much involvement right now. I cannot be happier. Like, and I hope that this is going to grow and grow. And don't only rely on us. You know, just take our materials, translate them, maybe send to us or not. Do something. You know, that's why I think this project is going to go forward, because it allows people to get involved without me deciding whatever the fuck. You know, I love that. So happy.
Completely. I think those are the 2 biggest elements: the fact that anybody can get involved, and that's just gonna empower so many people and motivate so many people. Like, and the fact that you don't get in conflict with other people by saying, "Oh, fuck you for taking my material," and which is a lot what is an issue with the Vita project, for example, and so forth. Whereas you're unified on the whole trade-free concept, so it doesn't matter, if you take this shit or start something else. We're on the same team because we're tackling the same issue. So those 2 elements, I think, are gonna push this idea and push whoever wants to get involved as well forward.
And it gains people's respect, because I remember someone commented on a post on Facebook once. She said, yeah, you with your fucking solutions, that what are you now, selling a book? You want me to like give you a CD or something? And I said very nicely to her, you go on our website, we sell absolutely nothing. Go there, you can download everything. And she was like, then, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's so interesting. Okay, you gain people's respect. But when you say I'm going to save the world and sell a book at $9.95 or something like that, people are going to be skeptical, me included. Like,
and you become a charlatan because you'll end up making it for the money and not actually for the to understand what's happening and so forth.
Yeah, we have a lot ahead to do. Like, I cannot wait. I mean, people should like follow us on mainly on Trom site. We have live updates. You can go on any page and click the Trom logo, and we will post a lot of stuff there, especially from when people will come in May. When we are going to meet, and we are going to like brainstorm a lot about such things, and we will build the tradefree.org website and lots of other stuff. We will release the Linux distribution. Tomorrow, for example, I have to talk to Roman. Roman is new to Trom for the past several months. He is a Linux programmer, and he loves Trom. He also helps us financially sometimes, which is amazing. He's a great guy. Tomorrow I have a meeting with him, and we are going to work on Trom Jaro even better, like, because he can help a lot. So we do lots of stuff. Like, sometimes people are asking, like, someone sent an email like a few weeks ago and be like, Theo, I found this website. It's like fucking amazing, like videoneat.com, you know. You can get lots of stuff there, you know. It's like, man, it's full of stuff. I was like, it's by us. It's the same. Still us, you know. I was like, wow, that's interesting. Have lots of stuff. Okay, then if anyone wants to add anything, or if not, we can close this, and I can assure you we will have lots of discussions about this topic. So it's not like it's ending in this TROM-Cast.
It's the beginning.
It's the beginning. Anyone else, if you want to add something, Erica, or no? If not, silence. I'm talking too much.
I think trade free is a fantastic idea, and I can't wait to keep pursuing this path, because there's absolutely something to this, and already applying it like locally to like between my friends and stuff, and trying not to engage in like any kind of trade. Like, there's a pressure there. If somebody owes you money, like even if it's $5 or something, you got to ask them for it or something. It's like just give him the $5 or whatever. It's like, to me, if he's a good friend, that's going to be returned in spades. And just that kindness to one another. Like, you don't have to have a rule that's like the world is ruled by trade free. We can just start doing that.
And just to like, because I cannot contain myself, I want so much. I just want to say that it's so important because it gives people something to do. You don't let people like hanging there and waiting for the new change to happen. It's so important. So when I work on TROM-Jara, for example, the Linux distribution, I feel so great and I will be so happy when we will release it. And I know that, wow, people will have access to trade-free software. I love that. Absolutely love that. The curated news, that I love that. I'm doing something, you know. I feel like it's important. Even if maybe I don't impact so many people, at least I'm doing something, you know. Like Seb or Aaron, they can make their own website and they can write on their website what like posts, whatever they want, and they can put there like trade-free. It's trade-free. I'm doing something, you know. You let people feel important, and because they are. It's very important. Yep, and yeah, we can close this stream, and I think it was like
2
interesting
hours,
stream.
15 minutes. Good
Yeah,
stream.
the new record.
Yeah. And we got it.
There we
We
go.
launched them both at the same time. Everything worked out great. I mean, this was the
Fantastic.
This is-
What about Trom News, or not doing that this week?
Yeah, I think we were just
No,
gonna
because
skip
I don't have air anymore, so
it. That's
I have no room for that. So
We'll catch up
Sounds
next
good.
week for sure. All right.
yeah,
so,
yeah. So this is another thing. Like next week, TROM-Cast at 18 UTC. Again, it's a trade-free thing. Anyone can participate with the open source Jitsi. Anyone can participate, and yeah, we will choose a subject and we'll see.
All right.
Nice thing. Okay, thank you, Erika. Thank you, Francesco, for participating as
Yep.
well.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, in the future, maybe we'll participate again.
Would be great.
Okay, guys.
All right. See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.